The only reason you're afraid of failure is because it's a threat to your self-worth. And this is not your fault, because someone wired this into you. Either your parents, either your teachers, or the people around you. In primary school, we had a pass mark, and most of the subjects, the pass mark was 100. And so if you did not get 100, you're basically told that you failed. It doesn't matter that you got a 98 or a 96 or a 94, you had failed. And even if you did well, it was apparently never enough for them. And that's where I learned the fear of failure. I was shamed for getting a 96 in maths. A 96. You know, it was so ingrained in me that right now when I look at it, I can't believe how unfair it was. But whenever I got my paper back, I really thought I had failed and that I was a failure. But that's not what I was. I had done really well, actually, and I should have been celebrated. But most of the times, these schools, they expect you to do well, but they never celebrate your success. And so maybe you got your fear of failure because you brought the results to your parents and they shamed you for having whatever results that you had. And they called you names and called you a failure or good for nothing and things of the sort. So this thing is not your fault. Someone ingrained it in you. So the occurrence of such things drilled this thing in me that I should be afraid of failure. And for a long time, I was really afraid of failure. I'd rather not try something than actually do it and end up failing, because I felt like it actually signals that, first of all, I'm not smart. And then it signals that if I'm not smart, then it means that my worth goes down. But that's not the case. Self-worth is not something that fluctuates. It is set. And a verse that really did it for me, for my fellow Christians, is Genesis 1:31, that says, God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. And you know what? That's all it is. God said it was very good. And that's it. Period. So if you're looking for a source that will never fluctuate, there you have it. Another important announcement that I need to make is that failure is not an original experience. You have nothing to be ashamed about because you failed at something. Because guess what? Every single person on earth fails. We never come to earth being perfect beings. Let's look at children. I'll give the example of walking. When they're crawling and they're trying to walk, and they try a couple of times to do it, and then when they finally do it, we actually celebrate them. I don't see a child walking around with a low self-esteem because they had to try a couple of times to actually walk, unless they were shamed by their parents or their caregivers, unless that's the case. Earth is all about growth when you look at it. So you cannot convince me, and I need you to convince yourself that it's not an original experience. It's actually something that you have to experience in life. You can't do life without failure. And I know there's a person in mind you have who you think is perfect, but I promise you they're not. If all you see is perfection, well, they're doing a good job in maintaining the perfect persona. But if you really knew every detail about their life, you'd find out that they had a couple of fails. And maybe they're too scared to show that part because they only think that they're worthy if they're perfect, because that's what they've been shown. And you know, even society has done a great job in showing us the good parts about life. They show us of people who get success overnight, and they don't, tell us about the story where they did something for years before they even got recognized. They don't show us the fails they had, but it doesn't mean they weren't there. The reason why I'm talking about this is that it ends up robbing you of so many things, because you may try doing things, but then when it gets hard and you feel like your worth will drop because you didn't get something right, you leave it alone. Or you don't even try things because you're so afraid that your self-worth will go down. It's robbing you of becoming a better person. It's robbing you of living a better life than you're living and becoming greater than the person you are at the moment. You can't let it be a normal thing in your life. It needs to become something foreign to you. And therefore, you will need to fight back hard so that you can go after everything you want. One reason we fear failure is because of a limiting belief that because you failed, that means you're a failure. But that's a misconception. Failing something simply means that you failed something. It does not mean you're a failure. And whenever that thought comes into your mind, reframe it. Reframe it and say, I failed at something. I'm not a failure. I'm most definitely not a failure. Another thing that makes us fear failure is a fixed mindset. When you think that your abilities are unchangeable, you're going to avoid things, or you're going to stop things because you don't think they can be changed. But I'm here to tell you that if you're not great at something, you can change it by putting more time in it and by having a good strategy. I used to believe that it's either you're good at something or you're not. And because of this, I never put in effort in some of the things. In Form 1, I tried out for the swim team and I didn't get in. And that's okay if I wasn't fast enough. But I took it as then I'm not meant to be in the swim team because I'm not fast enough. But it's literally a skill that I could have improved on if I believed that I can improve on that skill. It's how they say it takes 10,000 hours to make a master. And I want you to go search for the video of Harry Styles auditioning for the X Factor. He wasn't that great in singing at that time. But then listen to the songs that he does now. You can see the improvement that has been made. And that is a testament to show you nothing is fixed. Another thing that makes us fear failure is being judged by people. And honestly, I believe that if someone really cares for you and loves you, there are things that should be non-issues. You failing at something should not be followed by shaming or someone not supporting you. If someone really genuinely loves and cares for you, they will cheer you on. If you care about anyone's opinion, it should be for the people who care about you and not people who put you down. And if it's something on a large scale, like on social media or becoming an artist or something, and you're afraid of what people will say about you, I mean, first of all, they do not know you, and second of all, they will not add or subtract anything from your life because of failing at something. I think we have seen a fair share of scandals during our time, and people have literally continued living. People moved on from the subject, and if they're still there, honestly, I don't think they have much in their life going on. That's why they will be preoccupied by certain things. Because why would someone remember such details if their life is amazing? And also, sometimes it's in our heads. You may remember the embarrassing moments in your life, but maybe no one else does. And maybe you're embarrassed about small things that shouldn't be bringing you embarrassment, but because of how you were shamed and embarrassed by people, you usually make a big deal out of them. And sometimes you just really need to get out of your head. So now let's look at how we are going to overcome fear. Number one is reframing failure as feedback. And this will require you to have a growth mindset. Look at it objectively and stop thinking about the shame around it or the emotions that you're feeling about it. Just look at it objectively. What can I learn from this experience? I'll give you a quote from Thomas Edison, the guy who invented the bulb. And for those who do not know him, he tried 1,000 times to finally make a bulb work. So this is what he said: I have not failed 10,000 times. I have not failed once. I have succeeded in proving that those 10,000 ways will not work. When I have eliminated the ways that will not work, I will find the way that works. And this is coming from someone who has multiple inventions in the world. So, failure is what? It's feedback. The second thing that you can do is start small and build confidence. Whenever you're setting goals for yourself, set goals that you can achieve. They may be something that's stretching you, but let it be something that you can achieve. If you're not someone who normally hikes, you can't say that your first attempt will be Mount Kenya. It doesn't make sense because you're not used to that. You have not trained your muscles to do that. You have not trained your body to do that. And therefore, you're going to feel disappointed in yourself if you try it and not get it at the first try. But you could do it gradually. Another thing you can do to overcome the fear of failure is challenging negative thoughts. Because you're used to this sort of thinking, it's going to take a couple of tries to be able to get to a place where you don't feel that fear anymore, and to a place where you don't feel like a failure when you actually fail at something. So whenever these thoughts come up, challenge them. If a thought like, if I fail, I'll never recover comes up, you can challenge it and say, is this really true? Maybe you're in a tight financial situation and you feel like if you fail, you'll never recover. But it's not really true, because there are multiple people actually who have gone to bankruptcy, who have been auctioned, who have gone to court and lost everything they had, and they still bounced back. So is it really true? After challenging it, replace it with a healthier thought pattern. Like, if I fail, I'll learn and I'll try again. You need to constantly do this so that you break free. And I know you can. So don't give up on doing this. It's just that it's ingrained in you. It will take a bit of effort, but it's definitely something that you can win. Another thing you can do is to normalize failure. And since society will always provide something picture perfect, something aesthetic, go look for such things. Go look for those stories. Read the stories of famous people who have failed. Read the story of Oprah. Read the story of J.K. Rowling. Just normalize such things. And if you have someone who's around you that you admire, ask them of the times they failed and what it taught them. And normalize it for yourself too. When you fail, say that you're human and this is your first time living, and therefore you're going to make mistakes. But guess what? You're going to learn and you're going to try again until you get it right. Another thing is focus on the process and not the outcome. So instead of focusing on the goal that you have, ask yourself, are you showing up for yourself today? Are you doing what needs to be done so that you can achieve that goal? Are you learning from the mistakes that you're making? Then you should celebrate yourself, and eventually you'll get there. Remember that failure is just a step along the way, and it doesn't mean it's the end. Until next time, bye.